Hello, this is Dr. John, dear future people. Well, today we are going to see the consequences of lack of cultivation. And we are going to focus now on the victim. Okay, so what happens to the person or to a community, okay, which chooses to leave the mind uncultivated. Okay, so let's see. Well, what the uncultivated mind seems to long for is, first of all, something new and exciting. Now, why is that? Because the uncultivated mind has a lot of inertia, right? So something with a lot of inertia wants to avoid having to work a lot. And so one of the ways to be liberated from the burden of working is to start something new, start a new page, okay, with new rules, with new constellation of things, with a new system, okay? So you want a new toy, you want new rules, and you want a revolution to change things, okay? Forgetting the past so that when things are very complex, very complicated, then you simply avoid having to face them, and so therefore you simplify things by starting a new page, okay? And this is the depiction of this. New toys, new toys, new toys, new toys, new rules, okay? So this is our first mechanism. Our second mechanism is distraction. So you forget the global situation, which is only accepted as compromise. Why? Because you cannot fully integrate into the global situation, and you accept it as is, so that you don't feel good, so that you want to escape into a world where you feel good, where there are no compromises, where everything is the way you want it to be, okay? This is distraction, okay? You are the hero, the great prophet, the happy person, and of course you have delegation, okay? So in other words, you have others think for you so that you don't have to, okay? So you watch these people resolve your problems, and then you can blame these people or worship these people, okay? So delegation, entertainment, all of these things are forms of distraction, okay? Now, the third is competition. Competition means that you look at others fighting it out, okay? And so, of course, competition always means that you look at things very dimensionally. These competitions have set rules, and within these rules you have the certainty that these rules will be respected, and people then will compete and fight among each others according to these rules. And so here's what you have. You have sports, you have fights, you have fights, you have fights, you have student competitions and financial competition, okay? Where, people do things for you under a set of strict rules so that it's easy to follow what is happening, okay? And then you watch others compete. So, Mental inertia provides you the protection from the effort of deep analysis. You have to, of course, deny the problems, okay? And so if you deny the problems, then you feel more safe. You are distracted to look at irrelevant problems. You are distracted to look at set rules and the fixed reality. And within that, you feel safe, okay? But safety always means delegation, representation, avoiding involvement in real issues, fighting through proxy, okay? So you have this excessive desire for safety causing inertia and slavery. Why? Because whenever you delegate out something, and again, representation and fighting through proxy is delegation. Look, you delegate out, okay, fighting. So that means that since you delegate out your things, you are ignoring your uniqueness. You don't look into the situation from your own eyes or through your own eyes, okay? Your environment, your own unique locality will be neglected, okay? And therefore you are going to be a slave to parasites, representatives, okay? Now, interpret my life for me. You may hire a psychologist or a psychiatrist or some great person, a great leader, okay? You join some isms, some movements, some groups, okay? Intercede for me with the divine, okay? And of course, religious tradition, religious hierarchy, religious organizations are just a form of this, okay? So in other words, a mental inertia manifests itself into seeking safety, and safety is by delegation. Okay, so you are not providing safety in your own environment, but you delegate this function out for somebody else. And then you seek comfort. You seek comfort not by organizing your own environment, not by organizing things with your own style, with your own unique desires and imagination and creative spirit, okay? But your comfort is reductive, okay? So you reduce things into not having to do more than what I can bear. And I can bear very little because I'm not well organized inside, okay? So therefore, a vicious circle is going to be set up because the more mentally inert you are, the less you can bear, the more you have to reduce things, and the more you reduce things, the less abundance, the less things you have to organize, and the less you are organized, then the more you are going to have confusion again. Okay? So, in other words, the whole thing comes into false safety and false comfort, all delegated out and all kind of fought by proxy, by reductive, virtual, artificial environment that you let others form for you. Okay? So, here, you have walls, because walls provide safety, false safety. You have these little boxes, little bubbles that your existence is reduced to, okay? You have this idea of material comfort, okay, which is a passive comfort, and you have comfort by delegating out to intercede with the divine for you. In other words, you let others organize your environment and your mind. Okay, so this is the picture of what describing what mental inertia looks like, what the consequences of mental inertia look like. So then, if you then look at these people who are engaged in mental inertia, in other words, who delegate things out, who refuse to deep organize their mind and their environment. And if you regard these people as free subjects who are independent, who are free to make their own choices and decisions, then you are going to make a serious mistake, because you are going to make these people miserable. Because you see, the problem is that freedom is a great burden. Having to make decisions, having to make choices, it's one step higher than that. But even higher than that is to transcend these choices and decisions by living your unique life. That is going to be very, very, difficult, even impossible, if you have denial, confusion, distraction, competition, trends and fashions that rule you. All of these things are manifestations of delegation. Okay, so if you are unable to take charge in your own life, in your own environment, okay, so then you have to bring in some outside force. And if you bring in some outside force, then you make a compromise of saying, okay, I'm a slave, fine, but at least I have some comfort and safety coming from the outside. So freedom is a great responsibility, freedom is a great burden, and you cannot regard these people as free, because they are, in fact, they are not ready to do that. And in fact, they are not free. So here's what happens. When you have mental inertia, you have to have some support. Okay? Remember? Support. Here, support, 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 and support. Okay? So you have to have support. And hierarchy, positions, financial hoarding, institutions, categories, mental categories that others make for you, okay? Classifications, trends, fashions. These are good and necessary tools toward a utopia of safety and comfort for mentally inert. But the price is that they have overdependence, uniformity, and idolatry. And these people, actually, those are the things that they seem to need. Because without them, they cannot have safety and comfort. And safety and comfort are their first priority, okay? So in other words, these people, okay, they need what we call realism, okay? Realpolitik, realism, okay? So they take reality as they see it at their own level, okay? And then they extrapolate so that there's nothing outside of what they think things are, right? Because they have to simplify the world. Simplification is important because the complexity is a burden for them, because they don't have the mental exercise, they don't have the mental fitness, okay? So then they need delegation, they need an outside force, okay, to regulate them, to support them, to create order in their lives, okay? And these people, therefore, are going to be idolaters. Why? Because parasitism and idolatry always rise up from delegation and representation. Okay? So whereas if you have an inner mental, unique mental activity, you have enthusiasm, enthusiasm. Even the very origin of the word means that you have the divine inside, okay? You have inspiration, okay? You are active. These people, the mentally inert people, are passive, and therefore they need something passive to sustain them. And these custom-made, very uniform things are categories and classes and sets and multitudes and all of these ideas that are necessary for them to survive, okay? Because they cannot order or organize their own environment. Somebody needs to do it for them. And so since these people are uniform because the same representatives organize their lives in a uniform manner, okay? They have a center, like all representation has a center, okay? They have to be idolaters. Why? Because they are uniform and their attention is centered toward one focus, okay? So the cultivated mind is an organic part of reality without a center. Why? Because this organic mind sees that in every direction I have abundance, okay? I have subtle differences, I have unique patterns. And there is no need for center and symmetry, because center and symmetry always means that I extend things in a posi-dimensional way. But no, I see subtle differences here and here and here and here. So the uncultivated mind has a perspective that there is a periphery and that I am in the periphery and there's a great center and there is a distance between this periphery and the center, okay? And then there has to be some artificial avenue, okay? Like a place or a ceremony or a ritual that binds occasionally, this center to this periphery. All right, so then the natural bond between mind and mind becomes first of all hierarchy based. Second of all, there's going to be a distance between this hierarchy based representation and the individual that is passive. So the cultivated mind always has the joy of creation. So the cultivated mind is by definition happy. Even if a cultivated mind is burdened by responsibility and a sensitivity, a great mass of information that creates the need for more organization, but yet the abundance, the organizational capacity that comes from mental exercise, okay? It liberates the imagination and it makes one creative. And once again, this is not only about individuals, but groups and communities also. And this joy of unique creation is overwhelming. So you can have whatever calamity, whatever disease, yet this joy is always inside. Whereas the uncultivated mind always looks at safety and comfort, but this safety and comfort is reductive, okay? So you reduce things, you shut out the rest of reality outside these walls. So basically we can invent a new expression by saying that the inert mind delegates its life away. Okay, like that. This in contrast to this. And here, like we did before, we're going to talk about religion again. Because religion is the other pole. You see, the pole where you have imagination and creativity, and idolatry is gonna be the representation of what the uncultivated mind is actually doing, the way it expresses itself. Okay, so remember that the idol is not only in the center of attention, but the idol is separate and finite. Okay, so it is in the center. There's a distance between the idol and worshipper, okay, which there shouldn't be, but there is. So central, distant, but it is also separate and finite. Now, this is very important to understand. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so you have an uncultivated mind with a very spotty detection and very spotty understanding. And that mind sees things as separate and finite. Why? Because the narrow attention will block out everything except one part of space-time. That's going to be a unit, okay? And so the uncultivated mind sees these units that it cannot distinguish, so it has this uniformity of separate units. And since the uncultivated mind sees units everywhere, okay? It sees 10 people, 100 people, it sees one race and another race, it sees multitudes and sets. Therefore, the uncultivated mind will see the divine also as separate and finite. So it sees the divine as a unit, okay? So something that can be counted, something that is, circumscribed, which is distinct, which is something like the divine is here, but not here, okay? So this is the divine's nose, and it's here, but not here, okay? So it's separate, finite, okay? So the idol creates a religious tradition, okay? So the religious tradition is something that you can convert to. It's a separate and finite organization, okay? Well, more precisely, religious tradition is just the idea of this, but what it manifests itself in is an organization, an ism, a movement, okay, an institution. And you can convert to this. Why? Because you want to belong to it, you want to mimic, you want to imitate, you want to belong. This is a form of delegation. So, but remember, religious tradition is always locally unique, because a religious tradition comes from a tradition, and tradition is always locally unique. Why? Because the tradition came from the life experiences of a community. Okay? So the religious tradition may be secondarily extended, and it may say that, okay, this tradition was born here, but it's universal. And that is based on extension, right? So, but not only that, but when religious traditions compete, then they claim exclusivity. You see that I am the universal religious tradition, but you are not, because we are not complementary. No, we are, in competition. But religion is not like that. You see, religion cannot compete, because religion is always unique, but it's abundant, okay? It's complementary, okay? You have this idea, I have this idea, and let's come together and see how these fit. Okay, this idea is more relevant to this tradition. My idea is more relevant to this tradition, but the truth value can be combined, because more relevant here, less relevant here, but to some degree relevant here also. So I make a synthesis, okay, of all these traditions. And I see that these are not mutually exclusive, okay? So, and underlying this is the idea that the divine is infinite and has no boundaries. But it's not only in space and time that it is infinite and has no boundaries. Because remember what we said about the mathematical infinity? Mathematical infinity is post-dimensional. Okay, it has few dimensions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we are not talking about mathematical infinity here. We are talking about an abundant infinity. Okay, so which can manifest like this, like this, like this, like this, and like this. Why? Because it is rich. Okay? So to you it mainly manifests like this. To me it mainly manifests like that, because it has the infinite abundance, the infinite potentiality, okay, to be this or like this or like this or like this. You see that? So it has no boundaries. Why would it have boundary? It is like a distribution which is uneven, but which has no bounds, which is everywhere. You see? And if it is like that, then in every direction it looks a little bit different. And for every observer, for every believer, it's going to be a little bit different. So that there is no competition, because for competition you need to have fixed rules which are reductive, right? Now, if there's no separate location in space or time, then there can be no definite center, because a center usually means that you have a unit in a very important location. But if it has no boundary, and if it is not homogeneous, if it is infinite, then how can it have a center? Or why would it? And it has no fixed properties. Why? Because it's in constant change. There's not a small set of eternal properties. No, it's in constant change. It's the abundance of having potentialities, which manifest here like this and there like that. Okay? It's the abundance. Okay? So that you can have a whole set of properties that you imagine this divine is like, based on your experience. But this experience is potentially infinite because of abundance of potentiality. Okay? So the religious tradition identifies local aspects, okay, based on the life experience of that particular community. But behind that, there is an infinite potential, an abundance of potentialities. Okay, so again, just to make it a little bit simpler, so let's contrast the two. So the idol is a separate divine unit with centrality, physical existence, boundaries, a set of fixed properties. It is separate, homogeneous, and post-dimensional, and it is fixed. Okay? The divine is not a countable unit. How can you count something? We said that counting is really based on unit, one. It's a unit. And every other number, okay, is a set of ones, okay? So that you cannot have one or two or three divine units. Why? Because it's not countable. You see, the divine is not a unit. So it has no location. There's no centrality. There's no boundaries, no fixed properties. And it's not exclusively physical. Physical aspect is one aspect. Okay? So you can look at things like this or that or that. And, the physical viewpoint is, yes, I mean, it's important, but it's one of the many important things. So it is robust, abundant, and always in motion, always in change. This is a static entity, okay? This is a dynamic, live thing. Okay, so basic difference. Now, so the same thing is the difference between a religious tradition and religion. So the religion is the practice of modifying life according to defined beliefs. And these beliefs come about by organizing the life experience of a specific community, okay? So religion, yes, it's community practice, which is unique to that local community, okay? But religion, what religion is not. Religion is not a set of fixed rules, of fixed organizations, and fixed institutions. These can be manifestations of religion, but these are not the same as religion, okay? So these are like consequences of religious practice. But you can have a religion without institutions and organizations, okay? A set of beliefs that you actually practice and that may or may not need the help of organizations and institutions, okay? So remember, these organizations, institutions, and traditions always resonate with local experiences, local lifestyle, local customs, local circumstances and conditions. They have to coordinate individuals. That's the main role for religious tradition, okay? And they promote social cooperation, of course. Whereas religion, since it is a community practice that may manifest itself in a trillion ways, okay, may take infinite forms. Religion may be diverse according to local circumstances and beliefs. And religion is always a potential, okay? It is an infinite potential, very rich, very abundant, which can be like this or like that, like this or like that. And whereas religious tradition, because of the needs of a community, okay, may be exclusive. So let's say that I want to unify a community with some very simple consensus-based rules, okay? Then, especially in a situation when you have an emergency, then you may have some exclusivity. You're saying that we are gonna rigidly adhere to this set of rules, okay? But what I'm saying is that religion itself has the potential to change those rules. Okay, so exclusivity disappears. But of course, this potential needs to be used, keeping in mind the basic role for religion, and that is to unify spiritually a community. Okay, so yeah, the potential is there, but you have to also keep in mind that religion has a goal. Okay, and that goal is social cooperation. So again, religion needs constant maintenance because the community changes, the circumstances and conditions change. Uh, in fact, reality changes, and as reality changes, the community changes with it. Okay, so religion needs to be dynamic, and it always has to understand and digest and integrate and organize new experiences. Okay, so that therefore you need constant organization, you need constant communication, and so religion becomes a living being which lives as a community practice that constantly changes with the community and with reality. If religious practice remains constant and fixed, okay, this serves some purpose because you may unify a given community more closely, and the problem with that is that it will become artificially separated from life, because life goes on. Whereas if you have fixed and constant, rigid rules, then you disregard the natural change, the natural dynamism of reality. Okay, and then you have the problem of reduction, because you have to ignore these changes. Religion is alive. Okay, constant discussion and scrutiny leading to balance of new and old things. Okay, is extremely important. In other words, you can't just blindly follow the way things used to be, because things change in time. Okay, and so every value needs to be carefully reinterpreted according to new circumstances, and for that you need constant discussion, constant scrutiny, constant reevaluation. Okay, but it was very important that there has to be some diversity. Okay, creating abundance. Okay, so local unique circumstances need to be taken into account. And so the more rigid your system is, the less likely it is to live for long. Religion degenerating, losing flexibility, becoming fixed, losing potential, becoming a fixed actuality. This will lead to rituals, institutions, hierarchy, dogma, leading to idolatry. Now, understand that all of these things are due to are a manifestation of reductionism, and reductionism is a form of simplification. Simplification, the need for simplification is created by mental inertia. Okay, so again, religion, which is supposed to be a dynamic entity. Why? Because it's a community practice, and the community is a dynamic entity, and reality is a dynamic entity. So religion should be alive. But yet, if you don't have the mental inertia to maintain religion in an ever-changing reality, okay, if you don't see the potentialities, if you fix things, if you oversimplify things, okay, then you have the problem of parasitism, idolatry, and empire. So again, religion should be abundant and robust, keeping potentialities open instead of reducing them to a low number of sad actuality. Okay, so you need to understand that what is happening now is not some universal permanent thing. Okay, it's just the actual manifestation of something that has immense potentiality behind it. And of course, you have unique patterns, and patterns are continuous. But patterns also change, okay? Because reality is alive. So, abundance and playfully robust instead of fixed and motionless, religion is alive, okay? So, and remember, religion is alive and abundant and is not dependent on just a few fixed set of rules or sets of rules, okay? Because religion is potentially abundant and can be applied in a great many situations. Nevertheless, idolatry is useful sometimes. Okay? So it is useful for beginners. Okay, so in other words, if you want to organize your mind, you have to start somewhere. And idolatry is often a useful first step, and you can refine that later. The problem is not idolatry. The problem is when you are stuck at this stage and you don't evolve, when you are inert mentally, and then you refuse to go beyond the simplistic, fixed, artificial world that idolatry seems to represent. Okay? So institutions, organizations, common practices, rituals, these always represent support, like all kinds of tradition. Tradition is a great support. And these are fantastic for somebody who is, a novice, a beginner. So then this person needs all these kind of support to lean on. So the idea, though, of exclusive, fixed, absolute divinity as a well-defined and separate unit, while it is good for beginners as a first approach, if it sticks with you, it prevents you from developing further, okay? And of course, if you are stuck, then parasitism is always a great danger that can overtake your system. So again, religious tradition is very important, okay? You have to belong to a local community. And it is very useful sharing local beliefs, practices, because it creates common ground and social context. It emphasizes the belonging, okay? It promotes communication, it coordinates individuals, okay? So religious tradition is community forming, and religion is indispensable this way. So a religious tradition is always important, but the side effect of religious tradition is that if you oversimplify religious tradition, and if you universally extend by linear extrapolation your religious tradition, okay, then you're gonna have exclusivity, okay? So you're gonna block out things that are different. And so you define a community at the expense of other communities, okay? You claim universality so that you lose sight of local uniqueness elsewhere. And you have definite separation and possible competition among groups, okay? Because you label them as not part of your religious tradition, and then you are going to see them as enemies, okay? So that's very important, and those are very important side effects of religious tradition. So you need to be able to maintain your religious tradition without exclusivity, because the minute you extend your local community beliefs and practices, and you force them force them onto others, then the problem is going to be that you simply are going to reduce reality, okay, and become an idolater that way. So again, the use of religion. Religion is very important because it creates order and consistency in a community. It may be a robust belief system practically manifested in everyday life. Okay, so according to the totality of life experience in a certain community, there are beliefs, and we agree to practice our community life based on those beliefs. And you're going to have a healthy community, a peace of mind, and it creates active goodness. Why? Because if you see that you are an organic part of a community, and that community in turn is an organic part of reality, then you're going to see that you belong. You belong not only in that community, but you belong to reality, because reality is a living thing. So then goodness is a natural consequence of that belief. Okay, because you consider, like a tumor cell does not consider the need of other cells. It doesn't communicate with other cells, but a liver cell, a brain cell, a gut cell, epithelial cell, okay, they all are aware that they are part of an organism, okay, and that means goodness, that you consider the whole, okay. So the negative aspect of religion is instability due to constant need for reorganization. So idolatry is easy, right? Because it doesn't need maintenance. You have set rules which are true no matter what. Like in mathematics, okay? 1 + 1 is 2 no matter what. No matter what, 1 represents, and 1 represents, and 2 represents. It is absolute, okay? You cut that out of a changing living reality and you fix them. And these rules are then worshipped, okay? So very high maintenance is not always practical, especially in times of emergency or sickness, epidemics, war, famine, etc. So in these situations, there's a natural regression. And regression toward what? Regression toward tradition. And that is a very good thing. So even idolatry can be sometimes very useful in cases of sickness, disaster, and war. But it should not be stuck there. So religion provides the opportunity for active goodness. It is a consistent practice based on deep organization of everyday life. Religion contains the possibility of idolatry and religious tradition, which is fine, especially at early stages of mental development. Religion has infinite potential. It is robust and abundant. So it should sooner or later really transcend the idolatry and representation and organization and institution and religious tradition phase. Okay. Religion regresses toward earlier stages of development in times of an emergency, and if that is the case, then these support mechanisms become very important. And religion requires scope, perspective, not to be fixed and exclusive. Okay? Because an exclusive religion may be very, very, very good in times of emergency, say, but on the long run, it's dead. Okay? So, what you need to understand is that when you reduce your interest and attention, then you're going to have these fixed rules that you're going to extend, and what that causes is an artificial reality. And that artificial reality will sooner or later die because whereas reality changes, this artificial reality becomes fixed, and there's going to be a tension between the two sooner or later. But real religion is alive. It may change very slowly, but it will change because circumstances and conditions change, reality changes, and the community changes with it. But for religion to be kept alive, for a community to be kept alive, we need a lot of work. And the work is the opposite of mental inertia. So what the uncultivated mind seems to long for is basically idolatry. And what the cultivated mind uses is religion. And with that, thank you for your attention, and goodbye for now.